The arrival. In the vast expanse of space, where countless stars twinkled like distant beacons, the Zeronian fleet emerged from hyperspace at the edge of Earth's solar system. Their massive ships, sleek and dark as obsidian, reflected no light as they silently positioned themselves in a wide orbit around Pluto. On the bridge of the flagship, the stellar Claw, Admiral Vex'ara stood tall, her iridescent scales shimmering under the soft blue glow of holographic displays. Her 4 eyes, each a different shade of amber, scanned the readouts before her with cold calculation. "Status report," she commanded, her voice a low hiss that carried authority honed over centuries of conquest. A subordinate, Lieutenant Kaz, responded promptly. "All systems nominal, Admiral. Our cloaking technology is functioning at peak efficiency. The primitive species on the 3rd planet remains unaware of our presence." Vex'ara's mouth curled into what passed for a smile among her kind, a bearing of razor-sharp teeth that would send shivers down the spine of any being unfortunate enough to witness it. "Excellent. Commence detailed scans of the target world. I want to know everything about these humans before we make our move." As the Zeronian fleet began its silent observation of Earth, life on the blue planet continued as usual. In New York City, Dr. Samantha Chen hurried through the crowded streets, her mind focused on the upcoming presentation she was to give at the United Nations. As one of the world's leading experts in theoretical physics and space exploration, she had been tasked with convincing the global community to increase funding for deep space monitoring programs. Samantha entered the UN building, her heart racing with a mixture of excitement and nervousness. She believed passionately in the importance of her work, but convincing politicians was never an easy task. As she set up her equipment in the conference room, she couldn't shake the feeling that something monumental was on the horizon. Little did she know, high above the Earth, alien eyes were watching with keen interest. Back on the stellar Claw, Lieutenant Kaz approached Admiral Vex'ara with a data tablet. "Admiral, our initial scans have revealed some unexpected results." Vex'ara's eyes narrowed. "Explain." "The humans, despite their primitive technology, show remarkable adaptability and innovation. Their history is filled with rapid advancements and overcome adversities. They've survived multiple extinction-level events and continue to thrive." The Admiral's expression remained impassive, but her inner eyelids flickered, a sign of intrigue among the Zeronians. "Interesting, but surely they'd pose no threat to us." Kaz hesitated before responding. "In terms of military might, no. Their weapons are centuries behind ours. However, their unpredictability and tenacity could make them challenging prey." Vex'ara considered this information. Throughout their long history of galactic conquest, the Zeronians had encountered countless species, but few had ever given them pause. These humans, with their short lifespans and fragile bodies, seemed insignificant. And yet, "Continue monitoring," she ordered. "I want to understand what makes these creatures tick before we reveal ourselves." As the Zeronians intensified their surveillance, life on Earth continued unaware of the looming threat. In a small research facility in Antarctica, Dr. Marcus Donovan peered intently at his computer screen, his brow furrowed in concentration. As a radio astronomer, he had dedicated his life to searching for signs of extraterrestrial intelligence. For years, his work had been met with skepticism and even ridicule from some of his peers. But today was different. Today, his instruments had picked up something unusual, a faint, repeating pattern that didn't match any known natural phenomenon. "Emily," he called out to his research assistant, "come take a look at this." Emily hurried over, her eyes widening as she saw the data. "Is that?" Marcus nodded, a mix of excitement and trepidation in his voice. "I think we might have just made first contact." As Marcus and Emily worked feverishly to analyze the signal, trying to decipher its meaning, the Zeronians watched with growing interest. Their advanced technology had easily intercepted and decoded the humans' primitive transmissions, giving them unprecedented insight into Earth's cultures, languages, and societies. Admiral Vexara found herself becoming increasingly fascinated by these strange beings. Their capacity for both great cruelty and remarkable kindness, their constant striving for progress despite setbacks, their ability to unite in the face of common threats. All of it was so alien to the rigid, hierarchical society of the Zeronians. Admiral, Lieutenant Kaz interrupted her musings. We've detected an anomaly. It appears the humans have noticed our presence. Vexara's eyes widened in surprise. Impossible. Our cloaking technology is flawless. Kaz brought up a holographic display showing the Antarctic Research Station. It seems a small group of scientists have detected traces of our communication signals. They're attempting to analyze them now. For the first time in centuries, Admiral Vexara felt a flicker of uncertainty. These humans were proving to be more perceptive than anticipated. She made a decision that would alter the course of both species' histories. "Prepare for first contact," she commanded. "It's time we introduced ourselves to our prey." As the Zeronian fleet began to move into position around Earth, Dr. Samantha Chen was just concluding her presentation at the UN. Her impassioned plea for increased space exploration funding had been well received, with many delegates expressing support for her initiatives. As she stepped down from the podium, a commotion erupted in the back of the room. An aide rushed in, whispering urgently to the Secretary-General. The room fell silent as the Secretary-General stood, his face pale. "Ladies and gentlemen," he announced, his voice trembling slightly. "We have just received word from multiple space agencies. A large fleet of unidentified objects has entered our solar system and is rapidly approaching Earth. It appears we are not alone." The room erupted into chaos as delegates clamored for information and demanded action. Samantha stood frozen, her mind racing. Everything she had worked for, everything she had believed in, was about to change. In Antarctica, Marcus and Emily watched in awe as their instruments lit up with activity. The faint signal they had detected earlier had suddenly become a deafening roar of data. As they scrambled to make sense of it all, a message began to form on their screens, a message in perfect English. "People of Earth, we are the Zeronians. Your world now belongs to us. Resistance is futile. Prepare to be conquered." As the message was broadcast across every communication channel on the planet, humanity faced its greatest challenge. The Zeronians, a species that had known only victory for millennia, were about to encounter something they had never faced before: the indomitable spirit of humanity. In New York, Samantha Chen steeled herself for the fight ahead. In Antarctica, Marcus Donovan and Emily prepared to use their knowledge to aid humanity's defense. And all across the globe, humans from all walks of life began to unite against a common threat. The stage was set for a conflict that would determine the fate of Earth and challenge the Zeronians' view of the universe. As their ships descended from the skies, humanity prepared to show these alien invaders why they should never be underestimated. The arrival of the Zeronians marked the beginning of a new era for Earth, one that would test the limits of human resilience, ingenuity, and courage. The galaxy was about to learn that sometimes the most formidable adversaries come in the most unassuming packages. As the first Zeronian ships breached Earth's atmosphere, casting ominous shadows over major cities, humanity stood on the brink of a war unlike any it had ever faced. The future hung in the balance, with the fate of an entire species resting on its ability to overcome seemingly insurmountable odds. But if there was one thing humans had proven time and time again throughout their turbulent history, it was this: when pushed to the brink, they didn't just survive, they thrived. The Zeronians were about to learn this lesson the hard way. First contact. The sky above New York City darkened as a massive Zeronian warship, the Stellar Claw, descended through the clouds. Its obsidian surface seemed to absorb light, creating an ethereal and terrifying spectacle. People in the streets below stood frozen in awe and fear, their eyes fixed on the alien vessel that dwarfed even the tallest skyscrapers. Inside the United Nations building, Dr. Samantha Chen found herself thrust into the center of a crisis unlike any in human history. World leaders, gathered for an emergency session, turned to her for guidance. Dr. Chen, the Secretary General, addressed her, his voice strained. "You're our foremost expert on theoretical alien encounters. What do you suggest we do?" Samantha took a deep breath, acutely aware of the weight of responsibility on her shoulders. "We need to approach this rationally," she began. "First, we must establish communication. Then, we need to gather as much information about their intentions and capabilities as possible." As if on cue, every screen in the room flickered to life, displaying the face of Admiral Vexara. Her alien features, the iridescent scales, the 4 amber eyes, sent a collective shudder through the assembly. "People of Earth," Vexara's voice resonated, a hint of amusement in her tone. "Your planet is now under Zeronian control. Surrender, and you may live as our subjects. Resist and face annihilation." The room erupted into chaos, but Samantha's voice cut through the noise. "We need to respond, now." Meanwhile, in Antarctica, Dr. Marcus Donovan and Emily worked feverishly to analyze the flood of data pouring in from the Zeronian ships. Their isolated research station had suddenly become one of the most crucial facilities on the planet. "Emily, look at this," Marcus called out, pointing to a series of energy readings. "Their ships are putting out some kind of electromagnetic field. It's like nothing we've ever seen before." Emily's eyes widened as she studied the data. Could it be some sort of defense mechanism? Or maybe it's how they maintain their cloaking technology. Before Marcus could respond, their communication system crackled to life. It was a secure channel from the United Nations. "Dr. Donovan," Samantha's voice came through, "we need your help. We're about to attempt communication with the Zeronians, and we need every bit of information you can give us about their technology." As Marcus and Emily relayed their findings, military forces around the world mobilized. Despite the overwhelming technological advantage of the Zeronians, humanity was not going to go down without a fight. In Washington, D.C., General Laura Hayes, the newly appointed head of Earth's Unified Defense Forces, stood before a group of international military leaders. "Gentlemen, ladies," she addressed them, her voice firm and determined, "we're facing an enemy with capabilities far beyond our own. But we have something they don't: home field advantage. We know this planet, every inch of it, and we will use that knowledge to defend it." As military strategies were formulated, Samantha prepared to address the Zeronians. With the eyes of the world upon her, she stepped up to the communication array. "This is Dr. Samantha Chen, representing the people of Earth," she began, her voice steady despite her racing heart. "We wish to open a dialogue with you. Our intention is peace, but we will defend ourselves if necessary." Admiral Vexara's response was swift and dismissive. "Peace? There is no peace with the Zeronians. There is only conquest or subjugation. You have one planetary rotation to surrender, or we will demonstrate our power." As the communication ended, Samantha turned to the world leaders. "We need to prepare for the worst," she said grimly. The next 24 hours were a flurry of activity across the globe. Military forces were deployed, civilians were evacuated from major cities, and scientists worked around the clock to find any weakness in the Zeronian technology. In Antarctica, Marcus made a breakthrough. "Their electromagnetic field," he explained to Emily, "it's not just for defense. It's integral to their entire technological system. If we could disrupt it somehow." Before he could finish his thought, the ground shook violently. Outside their research station, the sky lit up with an otherworldly glow. The Zeronians had made good on their threat. A beam of energy, more powerful than anything humans had ever witnessed, lanced down from the stellar claw. It struck the outskirts of Sydney, Australia, vaporizing everything within a 5-mile radius. The message was clear: resistance would be met with overwhelming force. But the Zeronians had underestimated humanity's resilience. Instead of cowing the people of Earth into submission, The attack galvanized them. Around the world, people united in defiance of the alien threat. General Hayes' voice echoed in command centers across the globe. Initiate Operation Slingshot. Let's show these aliens what happens when you pick a fight with humanity. Operation Slingshot was a desperate gambit. Using a network of hastily modified satellite arrays, Earth's military forces attempted to create a massive electromagnetic pulse to disrupt the Zeronian ships. As the operation commenced, Samantha watched from the UN headquarters, her heart in her throat. Marcus and Emily monitored the effects from their station in Antarctica. And in cities around the world, people looked to the skies, hoping against hope that humanity's ingenuity would be enough to turn the tide. The pulse went off, a wave of invisible energy washing over the planet and into space. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then, one by one, the Zeronian ships began to falter. Their sleek forms flickered, their cloaking technology failing. On the bridge of the Stellar Claw, Admiral Vexara watched in disbelief as her systems malfunctioned. Impossible, she hissed. How could these primitives? Her words were cut short as the ship's artificial gravity failed, sending her and her crew floating helplessly. Back on Earth, a cheer went up as people witnessed the Zeronian ships drifting aimlessly in the sky. But Samantha knew the fight was far from over. We fought ourselves some time, she told the UN Assembly. Now we need to press our advantage. As Earth's military forces mobilized to engage the temporarily vulnerable Zeronian fleet, Marcus made another crucial discovery. Their ships, he told Samantha over a secure line, they're powered by some kind of crystalline energy source. If we can get our hands on it, we might be able to level the playing field. Samantha relayed this information to General Hayes, who immediately saw the potential. We need a team to board one of those ships, the general decided. Dr. Chen, your expertise will be crucial. Are you up for a field mission? Without hesitation, Samantha agreed. Within hours, she found herself on a stealth aircraft, heading towards the disabled Zeronian ship hovering over the Atlantic Ocean. Alongside her were a team of elite soldiers and Marcus, who had been flown in from Antarctica for this crucial mission. As they approached the alien vessel, Samantha felt a mix of fear and exhilaration. This was the moment that would decide the fate of humanity. Either they would secure the means to defend Earth, or they would fail, leaving their planet at the mercy of the Zeronians. The boarding team magnetized their suits and leaped from their aircraft, crossing the void of space to land on the hull of the Zeronian ship. As they cut their way inside, Samantha couldn't help but marvel at the alien technology surrounding them. But there was no time for scientific curiosity. They had a mission to complete, and the future of Earth hung in the balance. As they made their way deeper into the ship, they encountered the first signs of Zeronian resistance. The alien warriors, their iridescent scales gleaming in the ship's emergency lighting, were fearsome opponents. But in the microgravity environment, the human soldiers' training gave them an edge. The battle that ensued was like nothing in human history, a zero firefight aboard an alien spacecraft. Samantha and Marcus pushed forward, guided by the energy readings that would lead them to the ship's power source. As they reached the engine room, they found themselves face to face with a squad of Zeronian engineers led by Lieutenant Kaz. "You primitive fools," Kaz snarled, leveling a weapon at them. "Did you really think you could defeat the Zeronians?" But as he spoke, Samantha noticed something in his eyes, a flicker of doubt, perhaps even admiration. It was at that moment she realized that this conflict might have more than one solution. "We don't want to defeat you," she said, her voice steady. "We want to understand you, and we want you to understand us. Look at what we've accomplished here. Isn't that worth more than conquest?" Her words seemed to give Cass pause, and in that moment of hesitation, the tide of the battle, both on the ship and for Earth, began to turn. The first contact between humans and Zeronians had been one of conflict, but as Samantha stood her ground, facing down an alien threat with words rather than weapons, she opened the door to a different kind of encounter, one that would reshape the destiny of both species. The turning point. The tense standoff in the Zeronian ship's engine room stretched on, the air thick with the acrid smell of ozone from discharged energy weapons. Samantha Chen stood her ground, her gaze locked with Lieutenant Kaz's 4 amber eyes. Behind her, Marcus Donovan worked feverishly to understand the alien technologies surrounding them, while the human soldiers maintained a defensive position. "You speak of understanding," Kaz hissed, his weapons still trained on Samantha. "But you cannot comprehend the ways of the Zeronian Empire. Conquest is our way of life, our purpose." Samantha took a careful step forward, her hands raised in a gesture of peace. "Then help us comprehend. And in return, let us show you that there are other ways to find purpose. Look around you, Lieutenant. Your mighty fleet has been disabled by a species you considered primitive. Doesn't that intrigue you? Doesn't that make you wonder what else we might be capable of?" As she spoke, Marcus let out a gasp of excitement. "Samantha, I think I figured it out. The crystalline energy source, it's not just a power generator. It's alive somehow. It's responding to thought patterns." This revelation seemed to shock Kaz as much as it did the humans. His grip on his weapon faltered. That's impossible. The sacred crystals are tools, not living entities." Seizing the moment of uncertainty, Samantha pressed on. "Lieutenant, I propose an exchange. Let us work together to understand this technology. Share your knowledge with us, and we'll share ours with you. Surely that's more valuable than a war neither of us is sure to win." For a long moment, Kaz was silent, his inner eyelids flickering rapidly, a sign of deep thought among Zeronians. Finally, he lowered his weapon. "Your words, they have merit. But Admiral Vexara will never agree to this." "Then help us convince her," Samantha urged. "You've seen what humans are capable of. Imagine what we could achieve together instead of fighting each other." Meanwhile, on Earth, the tide of battle had shifted dramatically. With the Zeronian ships disabled, Earth's military forces had managed to secure several beachheads. General Laura Hayes coordinated a global counteroffensive from her command center, her face grim but determined. "We've got them on the ropes," she told her assembled staff. "But we need to press our advantage before they can regroup. Any word from the boarding team?" As if on cue, a communication came through. It was Samantha, her voice filled with a mix of excitement and trepidation. "General Hayes, we've made contact with a Zeronian officer. We're negotiating a potential ceasefire and exchange of knowledge." Hayes' eyebrows shot up in surprise. "A ceasefire? Dr. Chen, are you sure about this?" "It's our best chance for long-term survival," Samantha replied. "We need to understand their technology if we're going to defend ourselves in the future, and they need to understand us if we're ever going to have peace." After a moment of contemplation, Hayes nodded. "All right, Dr. Chen, you have my support. But be careful. We'll maintain our defensive positions just in case." Back on the Zeronian ship, Samantha, Marcus, and Kaz worked together to establish a communication link with both Earth's leaders and Admiral Vexara. As the connection was made, Vexara's face appeared on the screen, her expression a mixture of rage and disbelief. "Lieutenant Kaz, explain yourself immediately," she snarled. Kaz stood tall, his voice steady despite his obvious nervousness. "Admiral, I believe we have been mistaken about the humans. They have shown capabilities far beyond what we anticipated. I propose we consider an alternative to conquest." Vexara's eyes narrowed dangerously. "You dare suggest we abandon our sacred hunt? This is treason, Kaz." But before she could continue, Samantha stepped forward. "Admiral Vexara, I am Dr. Samantha Chen of Earth. We have disabled your fleet and boarded one of your ships. We could continue this conflict, but I'm offering you an alternative, an exchange of knowledge and culture that could benefit both our species." For a long moment, Vexara was silent, her inner eyelids flickering rapidly as she processed this unexpected turn of events. Finally, she spoke, her voice low and measured. "You have impressed me, humans. Few species have ever offered such resistance to the Zeronian Empire. Perhaps there is merit in your words. Over the next few hours, a tenuous agreement was hammered out. The Zeronians would withdraw their invasion forces, and in exchange, a joint human-Zeronian research team would be established to study the living crystal technology and other scientific advancements. As news of the ceasefire spread across Earth, reactions were mixed. Many celebrated the end of the alien threat, while others remained wary of the Zeronians. But for Samantha, Marcus, and their newfound ally Kaz, this was just the beginning of a new and exciting chapter. In Antarctica, the isolated research station was quickly transformed into the headquarters for the Joint Research Initiative. Scientists from around the world flocked to work alongside their Zeronian counterparts, eager to unlock the secrets of alien technology. Samantha found herself at the heart of this unprecedented collaboration. As she worked with Kaz to understand the living crystals, she couldn't help but marvel at how quickly things had changed. Just days ago, they had been enemies. Now, they were colleagues, pushing the boundaries of scientific understanding together. Marcus, meanwhile, focused on reverse engineering Zeronian propulsion systems. The potential for faster-than-light travel tantalized him, opening up possibilities he had only dreamed of before. But not everyone was pleased with this turn of events. On both sides, there were those who viewed the ceasefire as a betrayal. Hardline human factions argued that Earth should have pressed its advantage and driven the Zeronians away entirely. Among the Zeronians, traditionalists saw any cooperation with lesser species as an affront to their warrior culture. Admiral Vexara found herself walking a political tightrope, balancing the potential benefits of cooperation with the expectations of her superiors in the Zeronian Empire. She knew that news of this unprecedented arrangement would be met with skepticism, if not outright hostility, by the imperial court. As the weeks passed, breakthroughs came rapidly. The fusion of human ingenuity with Zeronian technology led to advancements that neither species could have achieved alone. Clean energy solutions, medical breakthroughs, and leaps in computer technology transformed life on Earth. But perhaps the most significant development came in the field of space exploration. With Zeronian faster-than-light technology adapted for human use, the stars were suddenly within reach. The first joint human-Zeronian deep space mission was planned, with Samantha, Marcus, and Kaz selected as part of the crew. As they prepared for this historic journey, Samantha reflected on how far they had come. From the brink of annihilation to the cusp of becoming an interstellar species, humanity had proven its resilience and adaptability once again. Yet, as she looked to the stars, she couldn't shake the feeling that their greatest challenges and greatest adventures still lay ahead. The galaxy was vast and full of wonders, but also potential threats. The alliance between humans and Zeronians was still fragile, and the reaction of other alien species to this new partnership remained to be seen. As the launch day approached, Samantha knew that they were standing at a turning point, not just for Earth or the Zeronian Empire, but for the future of galactic civilization itself. Whatever lay ahead, one thing was certain: humanity had earned its place among the stars, and the universe would never be the same again. Unexpected allies. The launch day arrived with a mixture of excitement and trepidation. The sleek, hybrid spacecraft, a fusion of human and Zeronian technology, stood gleaming on the launch pad, a testament to what the two species could achieve together. Christened the Harmony, it represented humanity's first true step into the cosmic ocean. Dr. Samantha Chen stood at the base of the ship, her heart racing with anticipation. Beside her, Dr. Marcus Donovan fidgeted with the cuff of his spacesuit, his eyes wide with wonder. Lieutenant Kaz, their Zeronian ally, stood tall and proud, his iridescent scales shimmering in the morning sunlight. "I never thought I'd see the day," Marcus murmured, his voice filled with awe. "A human-Zeronian joint mission to the stars." Samantha nodded, a small smile playing on her lips. "It's more than that, Marcus. It's a symbol of what we can accomplish when we choose understanding over conflict." As they boarded the Harmony, tensions were high. The crew, a mix of humans and Zeronians, eyed each other warily. Despite months of preparation and cooperation, old suspicions died hard. Captain Elena Rodriguez, a veteran astronaut chosen to lead the mission, addressed the crew as they strapped in for launch. Today, we make history, not just for our individual species, but for the future of galactic cooperation. Let's show the universe what we can do together. As the countdown began, Samantha closed her eyes, feeling the rumble of the engines beneath her. This was it, the moment that would define the future of both their species. The launch was flawless, the harmony breaking free of Earth's gravity with a grace that belied its immense power. As they cleared the atmosphere, the true marvel of Zeronian technology became apparent. The ship smoothly transitioned to faster-than-light travel, the stars blurring into streaks of light around them. Their destination was a distant star system, one that Zeronian long-range scans had identified as potentially habitable. It was a journey that would have taken years with human technology alone, but with the harmony, they would arrive in a matter of weeks. As they settled into the rhythm of space travel, the initial awkwardness between the human and Zeronian crew members began to fade. Shared meals, joint research projects, and the sheer wonder of their journey brought them closer together. Samantha found herself spending more and more time with Kaz, fascinated by his insights into Zeronian culture and history. "Our society has always been driven by the hunt," Kaz explained one day as they worked together in the ship's lab. "But perhaps we've been hunting the wrong things all along." However, not everything was smooth sailing. About 2 weeks into their journey, as they approached an uncharted sector of space, alarms blared throughout the ship. Captain Rodriguez's voice came over the intercom, tense but controlled. "All hands to stations. We're picking up an unknown energy signature. Prepare for possible contact." The crew rushed to their positions, hearts pounding. On the main view screen, a massive structure came into view, a space station of some kind, but like nothing they had ever seen before. Its architecture was organic, almost alive, pulsing with an otherworldly energy. Before they could react, a beam of energy lanced out from the station, enveloping the harmony in a shimmering field. Panic gripped the crew as systems began to shut down, the ship drifting helplessly towards the alien structure. "It's some kind of tractor beam," Marcus shouted, his fingers flying over his console. "I can't break us free." As the harmony was pulled into a cavernous docking bay, an eerie calm settled over the ship. Samantha, Marcus, Kaz, and Captain Rodriguez gathered near the airlock, unsure of what to expect. "We need to establish contact," Samantha said, her scientific curiosity overriding her fear. "This could be a first contact situation." Captain Rodriguez nodded grimly. "Agreed, but we proceed with caution. We don't know if they're friendly or hostile." As if in response to her words, the airlock hissed open. Standing before them were beings unlike anything they had ever seen, tall, ethereal creatures with bodies that seemed to shift and flow like liquid crystal. Their eyes, if they could be called that, were swirling vortexes of color. One of the beings stepped forward, its form rippling. When it spoke, the words seemed to form directly in their minds. "We are the Luminari. We have been watching your journey with great interest." Samantha stepped forward, her voice steady despite her racing heart. "We come in peace. I am Dr. Samantha Chen of Earth, and these are my colleagues from both Earth and Zerconia." The Luminari's colors shifted, a gesture that seemed to convey curiosity. "Earth and Zerconia, working together? This is unexpected. We have observed your species for eons, always separate, often in conflict. This alliance is new." Kaz moved to stand beside Samantha, his scales reflecting the Luminari's glow. "Our cooperation is recent but sincere. We have learned that there is more to gain in understanding than in conquest." The Luminari's form pulsed with what might have been approval. "Then perhaps there is hope for you yet. Come, we have much to discuss." Over the next few days, the crew of the Harmony found themselves in a crash course on galactic politics. The Luminari, they learned, were part of a coalition of advanced species dedicated to maintaining balance in the galaxy. They had long viewed both humans and Zeronians as potential threats, humans for their rapid technological advancement and adaptability, Zeronians for their conquering ways. Your alliance, the Luminari explained, has changed the equation. It offers a new path forward, one of cooperation rather than conflict. As they shared knowledge and culture, Samantha began to see the true scale of the universe they were entering. The galaxy was teeming with life, civilizations rising and falling over millennia. The potential for both discovery and danger was immense. But perhaps most surprising was the revelation about the living crystals that powered Zeronian technology. These are not mere tools, the Luminari revealed. They are fragments of a cosmic consciousness, a being as old as the universe itself. In learning to communicate with them, you have taken the first steps towards a greater understanding of the cosmos. This news shook both the humans and Zeronians to their core. It meant that their alliance, born out of conflict, had inadvertently put them on a path to becoming part of something far greater than themselves. As their time with the Luminari drew to a close, Samantha, Marcus, and Kaz found themselves forever changed. They had embarked on this mission seeking knowledge and adventure, but they were returning with a new purpose, to guide their respective species towards a future as part of a galactic community. The Luminari offered them a choice, to return home with their newfound knowledge, or to continue onward, exploring the wonders of the galaxy as representatives of their alliance. As they stood on the precipice of this monumental decision, Samantha looked at her companions, human and Zeronian alike. In their eyes, she saw the same mixture of fear and excitement that she felt. Whatever they chose, she knew that their journey was far from over. The universe, it seemed, had much more in store for them. A new era. The crew of the Harmony stood in silent contemplation, the weight of the Luminari's offer hanging heavy in the air. Samantha looked at her companions, seeing the same mix of awe and uncertainty in their eyes that she felt in her heart. Captain Rodriguez was the first to speak. As much as the prospect of further exploration excites me, our primary duty is to return home with what we've learned. Our people need to know about the Luminari and the greater galactic community. Kaz nodded in agreement, his scales shimmering with a mix of emotions. My people, too, must learn of this. The Zeronian Empire has long seen itself as the apex of civilization. This knowledge, it will change everything. Samantha felt a twinge of disappointment, but she knew they were right. We have a responsibility to our species, she said, but this isn't the end, it's just the beginning. The Luminari, sensing their decision, pulsed with understanding. You choose wisely. Return to your worlds, share what you have learned. When you are ready, the stars will be waiting. As they prepared to depart, the Luminari provided them with a wealth of information, star charts, historical records, and most importantly, the means to contact them again. You are now part of a larger community, the Luminari explained. Use this knowledge wisely. The journey back to Earth was filled with anticipation and intense discussion. They knew that the information they carried would reshape both human and Zeronian societies. The challenge would be in ensuring that this knowledge was used for the betterment of both species, rather than as a source of conflict. As they approached Earth, Samantha stood at the viewport, watching her home planet grow larger. Cass joined her, his presence now a comfort rather than a source of unease. Your world is beautiful, Cass said softly. I regret that our first encounter was one of aggression. Samantha smiled. What matters is where we go from here. Our peoples have a chance to build something extraordinary together. The Harmony's return was met with global celebration. As news of their discoveries spread, the world watched in awe as Samantha, Marcus, and Kaz addressed the United Nations, with Admiral Vexara joining via holographic projection. We stand at the threshold of a new era, Samantha announced to the assembled leaders. An era of unprecedented cooperation, not just between humans and Zeronians, but as part of a vast galactic community. The revelations sent shockwaves through both societies. On Earth, there was a surge of interest in space exploration and xenobiology. The knowledge that humanity was part of a larger cosmic tapestry sparked a renaissance in art, philosophy, and science. For the Zeronians, the impact was even more profound. The realization that their revered crystals were fragments of a cosmic consciousness forced a reevaluation of their entire culture. Admiral Vexara, once the face of Zeronian aggression, became a vocal advocate for reform. "We have long seen the universe as a hunting ground," she declared to the Zeronian High Council. "But now we understand that we are part of something greater. It is time for the hunt to end and for a new journey to begin." Over the following months, joint human-Zeronian projects flourished. The Antarctic Research Station expanded into a sprawling complex, with scientists from both worlds working side by side to unlock the secrets of the living crystals and adapt Luminari technology. Marcus led a team developing new forms of faster-than-light travel, while Kaz worked with human diplomats to establish protocols for future extraterrestrial encounters. Samantha found herself dividing her time between scientific research and public outreach, becoming a global icon for interspecies cooperation. But it wasn't all smooth sailing. On both Earth and Zerconia, there were those who resisted the changes. Some humans feared that sharing technology with the Zerconians would lead to Earth's subjugation. Among the Zerconians, traditionalists decried the abandonment of their conquering ways as a betrayal of their heritage. Samantha, Kaz, and their allies worked tirelessly to address these concerns, organizing cultural exchange programs and public forums to bring the two species closer together. Slowly but surely, understanding grew, and with it, a shared vision for the future. A year after the Harmony's return, construction began on Unity Station, a massive orbital habitat that would serve as a symbol of human-Zerconian cooperation and a jumping-off point for future expeditions into deep space. As Samantha watched the station take shape from the viewport of a shuttle, she felt a sense of pride and hope. Beside her, Kaz's eyes shimmered with emotion. "Did you ever imagine this?" he asked, gesturing at the bustling construction site, where humans and Zerconians worked side by side. Samantha shook her head, smiling. "Never, but I'm glad we're here to see it." Their moment of reflection was interrupted by a ping from their communication devices. It was a message from the Luminari. "You have made remarkable progress. The Galactic community awaits your full participation. When you are ready, a new journey awaits." Samantha and Kaz exchanged excited glances. They knew that this was just the beginning. The road ahead would be challenging, filled with new discoveries, potential conflicts, and unforeseen obstacles. But they also knew that together, humans and Zerconians were capable of overcoming any challenge. As Unity Station neared completion, preparations began for the next great expedition, a joint mission to formally introduce Earth and Zerconia to the Galactic community. Samantha, Kaz, and Marcus found themselves once again at the forefront, ready to lead their peoples into a new age of exploration and cooperation. Standing on the observation deck of Unity Station, watching Earth and the stars beyond, Samantha felt a profound sense of optimism. The universe was vast and full of wonders, and humanity, together with their unlikely allies, was ready to take its place among the stars. The age of isolation was over. The age of unity had begun, and the greatest adventure in the history of both species was just beginning. As the first ships prepared to depart from Unity Station,